The nation's longest running traveling celebration of traditional arts, the National Folk Festival comes to downtown Jackson for the first time, November 7th through the 9th. A fun-filled weekend for the entire family, exploring roots, richness, and variety of American culture. Non-stop music and dance, folk life demonstrations, hands-on children's activities, signature Southern foods, crafts, and more showcasing the best of America, the best of Mississippi, all free. We'll see you in November. More at nationalfolkfestival.com.
Everlasting, the Legacy Podcast, is the official companion podcast to the upcoming MPB original documentary, focusing on the life of Medgar Evers. The companion podcast, hosted by me, Rita Brent, will feature in-depth conversations, extended interviews, and exclusive archive footage not shown in the documentary. Everlasting, the Legacy Podcast, video and audio episodes premiere September 18th. Find it on mpbonline.org or wherever you get your podcasts. MPB, your stories, our mission.
Okie dokie, folks. Welcome back. Horticulturalist Felder Rushing. We welcome those of you who are listening on your radio or your laptop or your smartphone or whatever. Maybe you're out in the garden drinking some coffee, thinking about all those butterfly hummingbirds coming through. But if you're online, you might want to check out the live stream. Good morning, Java. Can people see us this week?
Yeah, everything is as it should be today. You could see me in my The I Love is Jackson State University's first football game this Saturday, and they should be able to see you with your nice English garden background. So yeah.
There you go. There's one thing, Jackson State, football is fine, soccer is fine, baseball, all that's fine, but there's nothing like the boom.
That's right, Sonic Boom of the South.
We need to come up with a tune of theirs that we can play. I'm sure they got something. You may have something someplace.
Oh yeah, they have for anybody who's a band enthusiast, online, just type in Sonic Boom of the South, like in the YouTube. They got plenty of songs and plenty of their, halftime performances, all of that stuff on YouTube.
Of course, listening to it is not the experience.
Yeah, you got to be downtown at the Veterans Memorial Stadium, and where your house is, Felder. I know you can.
I'm a mile from there, John. I'm a mile from there, and I can hear the boom coming, and I can see them in my mind. What an incredible experience! And they've been all over. I mean, they've been international.
Yeah, last year they went to the Rose Bowl, to the Rose Bowl parade out in California, and I mean they are, like you said, international. Everybody knows the Sonic Boom of the South.
Well, and I know, and this is getting a little personal, I know that you were in the band in school. You weren't in the boom, were you?
No, I didn't go to the boom. Like I tell a lot of people, I was in band from middle school up until high school, but then when I got to college, I turned my saxophone in for a pair of turntables.
That works, man. That works. Anyway, glad to be here. We're going to be talking about gardening. I know that it's been raining. Did you get much rain in your garden this past week?
Yeah, it was a nice soaking just last night, a little bit this morning. A couple little pops of maybe some flash flood in different areas, but it was a good soaking, as they say.
Good. This summer, this spring and this summer have been so much different than the past two summers. So hot and dry. I'm going to be back in the studio in 2 weeks. But I've had my daughter swing by and look at my garden. She said everything's looking good. And sometimes I lose some stuff in the summer because I'm not there. And if you don't do something in your garden, if you don't mow the grass, it can turn into weeds. I don't have any grass, but I do have some container gardens. And luckily, most of them are hardy plants. They're kind of old-fashioned plants, the stuff you see in country gardens and cemeteries and native plants that really don't need a bunch of watering. But I know a lot of people's gardening is suffering right now, Java, because it rains so much that a lot of the roots, as plants grew this past spring, they put a lot of leaves on, a lot of foliage, a lot of flowers. But all that rain kept the roots from growing really nice and deep because it kept the ground saturated. And when it turns hot, a lot of plants just don't have the deep roots. And we're seeing a lot of people whose roses don't look good. They're dropping their leaves, they're leggy, shrubs need pruning. And we can talk about that if anybody really wants to. But in general, it's not too late. It's past the recommended late date, but not by much, to prune shrubs. You can prune roses right now, a third to a halfway back, and they'll quickly sprout out new growth that'll actually has time to bloom. You don't have to prune them back that hard, and you don't have to prune the whole thing. But if you've got some overgrown shrubs, other than the spring bloomers, don't think I'd prune azaleas and forsythias and spireas and blueberries. I wouldn't prune any of those spring bloomers this late. But other plants, generic stuff, boxwoods, maybe you got some Indian hawthorns or some roses, crepe myrtle, things that bloom in the summer or are just mostly foliage. Perfect located to prune them back right now. They'll quickly put out some strong new growth that looks so good this fall. So anyway, how's our puppy lady doing?
Lady's doing fine, man. We got her nice and groomed up, and she's looking brand new. And you know, 14 years old is 14 years old, so we just getting used to her in her old age.
Well, give her a hug and tell her that I promise next time I'm over I won't step on her like I did last time.
Both of y'all having a little time to get out, need a little more time to get out the way.
Yeah. And, while I don't know if we have any calls, but it is a toll-free program, folks. If you want to give us a call, it's toll-free 1-877-MPB-RING. Even though I'm a long ways off, due to the miracle of modern technology and MPB trying to stay on top of stuff, it's like I'm right there in Mississippi with you, because I've been there a long time been gardening Mississippi. And I like to think if there's something that could go wrong, it's gone wrong for me, Java. I mean, I'm not a great gardener. I'm a knowledgeable gardener, but it ain't what you know. It's what you do that counts.
But let me ask this question, Felder, because you will be back in your garden in about 2 weeks. Have you ever?
Half, yeah.
Yeah. Have you ever really been disappointed? I know you set your garden up to be able to thrive without you, but have you ever really kind of been disappointed when you come back and see something didn't do right? Like I said, you set it up to be able to thrive without you, but have you ever been like, man, this just didn't go right?
Yeah, and that's a good question, Java. And I've been disappointed. I try my basic philosophy is try not to plant things that depend on a lot of maintenance, because I'm lazy, I'm tired, I'm old, I'm gone. All different philosophical reasons. I don't feel like doing a lot to keep a garden going just for its own sake. So I want things that do well for me, that please me, they have flowers, or they produce something I can eat, or they smell good, or they give me shade, or just whatever, butterflies. And if it needs a lot of coddling, over the years, I've just learned to put something else in that hole. And I've ended up with a stunning amount of plants, not because I'm smart, but because I'm persistent, looking for plants that do really, really well. But I've gotten back, and I've had rosemary dead. 2 years ago, I lost a 25-year-old magnolia tree because it's just so dry and I wasn't there to water it at all. I've lost some stuff in my truck garden. I grow stuff in a big pot in the back of my truck, and some of those plants didn't make it. They can't go 2 months without rain or without watering. So, but for the most part, the stuff in the back of the truck and stuff in my garden, stuff in containers, they're mostly durable plants, and I just have to replace a few little things here and there. So I try not to get too attached to those plants. Luckily, we got garden centers that are loaded with good stuff. Some of the old favorites that I want to replant are some new things I want to try. So we all lose stuff, even people out there all the time. I will say this, Java, I'm seeing a lot of people on the Mississippi Gardening Facebook who are saying they've got to water every day. And I'm thinking, I don't even water once a month, and most of my stuff does fine. So people who are having to water every day, there's something wrong, and it ain't with the plants. It's because you're coddling them too much, or maybe they didn't do a good job of working the dirt up ahead of time, or mulching. But any potted plant should need water more than once or twice. How often do you and Crystal water your garden? Every day?
Well, if Crystal could have her way every day, but also life gets in the way. So about every other day, we'll get out and spray something with the water hose.
Yeah, but y'all have a raised bed, though. That's like a little flat container sitting on top of the ground. I bet you don't water your shrubs and stuff. I bet you don't water your front yard, and it looks okay.
Yeah, see, there you go. Uh-huh.
And by the way, if we can get our who's our live stream producers today?
We got John C. and Abram in the back. We got Marissa. She's queuing up. We got a couple calls coming in. She's on the phones, and we got the All-Star squad this morning.
Well, I took a picture this past week. I want to show you is picture number one. If they could put that up there, folks, if you're not on live stream, you can go anytime, day or night, 24/7. You can go to YouTube and just in the search box, put Gestalt Gardener or Mississippi Public Broadcasting, and this will come up. And you can see this picture I'm about to show. Can you see that little row of mowers, Java?
Yeah, that's old school.
That's what I was raised with. We had a push mower that didn't have a motor on it. You had to push it and pull it. And then my great grandfather bought a fancy new mechanical engine, gas powered lawnmower, and it was a gas guzzling, smoke belting behemoth. It had chains and all sorts of stuff on it. They were huge and heavy, and they put out smoke. They're noisy, and if you had to turn it around, you can look at those things, Java. Those old-fashioned mowers, they were heavy and big and all metal.
Yeah,
looks like a tank.
Yeah, they don't have forward propel.
No, they don't. And it's the kind of thing where you had to crank it by wrapping a little small rope around this round thing, cylinder, and you had to pull it to sort of crank it up, sort of like they used to have to spin propellers on airplanes to get them started. And it was no fun when you're 14 years old. So anyway, I like the new lightweight. Have you got a gas or you got an electric mower?
Oh, gas.
You know, the new electric ones are fine. The gas ones are fine, and they've got where they're affordable. But these new electric mowers, they're quiet, they're really efficient. And typically, they'll hold up for a whole yard's worth. So anyway, we've come a long way since these old things.
Yeah, but now it is a call-in program, and we do want to welcome you to give us a call this morning, 1-877-672-7464. Before we take our first break, let's go to William in Sandy Hook, who wants to join the show this morning.
Morning, William. How you doing?
Good. How are you today?
So far, so good. I got a cough. Excuse me. I put some coffee down the wrong hole in my throat.
That ain't good.
What's going on?
Say it
What's
again?
up? Say what's up?
Well,
What's up with you?
I have pecan trees, and every year I try and combat these the worms that make the webs in the trees. It seems like as soon as they get in the trees, they destroy everything, and that's my pecans for that year. They're just gone now. So I said there's got to be a way to combat these things.
Well, here's the deal. Every one of those big webs you see up, they look like a big, dense spider web. Every one of those has got several dozen caterpillars in it, and each one came from a single moth laying a whole bunch of eggs on a twig. So every one of those was one moth laying a bunch of eggs, and there's no way to keep that moth from flying up there. There's no way to keep them from laying eggs. And the only thing you can do, the only two things you can do is if you can spray the tree, you got to kill the caterpillars by getting the spray to them. There's insecticides, there's natural materials, but unless you can spray the whole tree, there's nothing you can do to keep this from happening. Now, here's the good news. Those things, those webs, they just bother people to no end. It's not that big a deal to the tree. I was raised in a pecan grove. I've studied entomology, all this kind of stuff. I can guarantee you that the trees will do fine. Those are more of a cosmetic, and by the time you see them, they've done almost all the damage they're going to do, and the tree will put out new growth. A lot of people, they set fire to them. They'll put a flaming rag on a stick. The fire does a lot. But here's the deal. That kills the whole twig. It does more, and cutting them off, all those things, they do more damage to the tree than the worms do. So what I would do, and keep in mind that birds eat those, bats eat the moth, and so really the absolute best advice, and nobody wants to hear this, but it's true, is just ignore them or pretend like that they're seasonal ornaments. Not much practical we can do. They really don't hurt the trees that much. Really, I'm very sure of this. And anything we do to get rid of the webs typically damages the tree a lot more than these caterpillars do. So it's one of those kind of things that just breathe in and breathe out and call them seasonal. We need to come up with a name for them. Like instead of webbed worms, call them tree earring worms, because there's
something.
That's the best thing.
Okay, so I guess that's it then.
I hope I did.
I mean, the thing is, when I see them, it's like they destroy the whole tree. The leaves and everything are they won't do anything. And that harvest of pecans is shot for this year.
Yeah,
when I see all, I can't.
These worms don't really affect the pecans themselves. They mostly feed on the green foliage. And it does look bad.
Exactly.
And it does weaken the tree. Tell you something you can do is sometime in the late winter or spring, if you scatter some fertilizer, does not need much, just a little bit of fertilizer under the outer spread of the branches and beyond, then that'll invigorate the tree so it can put on new growth and outgrow the damage. So a little fertilizer most of the researchers say every 3 or 4 years is usually enough and then let the leaves recycle the nutrients. So if you fertilize every 3 or 4 years in the springtime, the trees they really will.
Okay.
I know it ain't what you want to hear. It ain't what you want to hear, but John will tell you, I'm here just to call it like I see it.
I appreciate it. I listen to you all the time, so I know that if anybody will know, you'll know.
Well, or if I don't know, I'll say. But when it comes to these things, I know this. It really bothers people. I've just learned to train myself to see them and smile as if they're a little gift.
Yeah. Okay.
Good luck on it, man.
All right. I appreciate you guys.
You bet. Thank you. Java, he did not want to hear that. He did not want to hear that, Java.
But you did what I really appreciate that you do. You always, tell it like it is, as they say.
Well, and it's not because I'm a know-it-all, Java. I'm a retired extension horticulturist, and I was raised in a garden center and orchard and all that stuff. And I've been a mediocre successful garden for half a century. And after a while, you just get real philosophical about what works and what doesn't. What's just to make people feel better. So anyway, what we got?
Let's go ahead and take our first break for the hour. Take us to a break. We got about 30 seconds.
Okie dokie. While we're going into that, when we come back, I want to show another picture I took while I was in Manchester the other day, Manchester, Northern England. I think it's a real kick. But I'm horticulturalist Felder Rushing, me and Java Chapman and other folks at MPB. We're glad you joined us. We'll be right back with more gardening and you right after this.
Together through the years, together in the future. MPB, your stories, our mission.
Every parent wants their child to grow, to explore, and to dream big. At MPB, we're proud to support families and teachers across Mississippi with trusted educational programming and resources that inspire learning and spark imagination. From PBS Kids Favorites to digital tools and early learning support, MPB is here for young minds, engaged classrooms, and families who believe in the power of learning at every age. Empowering families, inspiring learners. MPB, your stories, our mission.
The nation's longest running traveling celebration of traditional arts, the National Folk Festival comes to downtown Jackson for the first time, November 7th through the 9th. A fun-filled weekend for the entire family, exploring roots, richness, and variety of American culture. Non-stop music and dance, folk life demonstrations, hands-on children's activities, signature Southern foods, crafts, and more showcasing the best of America, the best of Mississippi, all free. We'll see you in November. More at nationalfolkfestival.com.
Okie dokie, folks. Welcome back. Horticulturalist Felder Rushing, and Java and I were talking with a caller about pecans, about webworms and pecans. There are a lot of insects and diseases and situations in the garden that there really are not any good practical controls. And keep in mind, I work with people who manage botanical gardens, professional horticulturists. I work with home gardeners. And over the years, over the decades, I've seen a lot of things that are tried that we just know they don't work. We've If they did, we would do them. We would do them if they worked, and they don't. And so that puts me at odds with a lot of people's hopes. And I'm not really here to offer hope. I'll try as best I can. But if you got a question about something, I'm going to be bottom line as if, what would I do? What would I get my mother to do? Anyway, Java, we got us a caller from Mobile named Gene, and we welcome him. Hey, Gene, good morning.
Man, I can't hardly understand you with that Ike accent you got from over there.
Well, what was that? I didn't understand words you said.
I didn't either. I said, with that accent you got from England, I can't hardly understand you.
Oh, man. Hey up, Chuck. What's up?
Yep. Anyway, what I called you about was I've got some caladiums that I bought this year. I hadn't fooled with them a long time. And I used to dig them up and save them, but I can't remember exactly how I did that. Do you remember anything about that?
Yeah, caladiums, if you leave them outside, even in Mobile, even though you usually don't have a hard winter, you've had snow before, caladiums, they don't just, caladiums don't just freeze, they also rot very easily. And we have a lot of heavy winter rains, a lot of spring rains, that a lot of times the caladiums left in the ground, even in pots, can rot. So generally what we do is this time of year, if you could give them a little bit of fertilizer, just a little bit, they'll put on an incredible show for September, October, into November. A little fertilizer will perk them up. And then when you do decide to dig them up before a frost, just cut them back, shake the dirt off the little, they're not corms, I think they're corms. Anyway, if you just shake the dirt off, let them dry, and then put them like in a paper bag with some dry potting soil, something to keep them dry over the winter. Then you can plant them back up in the late winter. You can get them started ahead in pots. But main thing is keep them dry indoors.
I hadn't done it in a long time. I used to do it years back, and I forgot exactly what I did with them. And I finally found something. I got ready to go get some plants. Everybody done bought them up and planted them in the ground. Well, they're not going to come up to that ground and get warm, I can tell you that.
That's right. So a lot of times they usually run.
Always. Another thing to get to the thing is squirrels eat them.
Yeah, but we don't need to go where I was about to go. But squirrels are good protein too. But that's a whole nother story.
Well, but no, my wife would cook a squirrel, so I never killed none of them. So anyway.
I was raised hungry. Hungry up in the Delta. But anyway,
let me tell you something about the lawnmower. My granddad had a push mower. I'm talking about a real mower.
Oh yeah.
And it had metal wheels on it. It had a rubber on it. And if it had any moisture on that grass at all, you couldn't push it and slide. So you had to be sure the grass was good and dry. It did a good job. But that thing would work you to death, brother.
And the weird thing about it, these early lawnmowers, the real types, the one where you push them and they got a bunch of blades that twirl around, they were not designed for St. Augustine or centipede. The St. Augustine and centipede are real coarse grasses, and they cut best with a rotary type mower. The real mowers were designed for fescue and ryegrass, Bermuda grass, real fine texture things. So even though that's all we had, it was extra hard on St. Augustine because the blades wouldn't cut those hard stems as much. So I'm with you, man. I had to pull one of those around behind my bicycle to go mow yards to get no cone money when I was a kid.
Yeah, well, that lawnmower had those metal wheels on them. They made them later on. It had some with rubber on the bottom of them, and you could push it. But if it had a drop of water on that grass, I tell you, you just going water ski, and you wasn't going to cut no grass.
That's right. That's right. Well, anyway, hey, look, good luck on the caladiums. But the main thing is keep them. Don't let them freeze, and don't let them stay soggy. But cool and dry over the winter time is your best bet.
We appreciate you calling this morning, Jim. Jim know about those old mowers just like you, Felder. I think even older, man.
It's just like, we used to have to open cans with a can key. They didn't have these pop tops when I was, so things are a lot better now. a lot better.
Well, let's go check in with Joe in Biloxi and see what she wants to bring to the show this morning.
Morning, Joe. What's going on the coast? Had any rain?
Oh, we're getting some good rain right now.
Good. What you got going on?
Well, I've been buying the inexpensive bird food, And I noticed the other day that I had mice in my platform bird feeder.
Mice?
And mice, yes. Like 3 or 4, and they were taking turns in the platform bird feeder. It was a whole show. And I really don't like mice, so I, of course, removed the bird feeders, and I did buy some poison, so there's that. But I just was wondering, do I just need to buy the expensive bird food so that doesn't happen again, or is there a remedy for that?
I will eat a steak just as well as I'll eat a hamburger. Mice and rats and squirrels, they'll eat anything that's got a little protein in it. They'll eat the good stuff just as well as they do the bad stuff. Unfortunately, not much you can do about squirrels, but with the mice and the rats and other things like that, you might need to switch over to a hanging type of bird feeder rather than something that can climb up. But no, I think just using the inexpensive stuff, as long as it's good quality, inexpensive, like the black oil sunflower seeds. Most birds will do fine with the cheap stuff, but the rodents, they'll eat anything. So you just need to come up with a little bit different style, or put some kind of excluder, a little like a metal rim around it, something to keep them from climbing. There's not much, but using more expensive food will not help the problem.
And Felder, Joe, I think that question may be a little bit better suited for Creature Comforts.
Creature Comforts.
Yeah, Thursday mornings at 9:00. Abram, who's on the live stream this morning, he said they talked about this very situation, and one recommendation is called a Squirrel Buster bird feeder. So Joe, look that up. Squirrel Buster bird feeder.
Yeah, and there's some people who have suggested if you mix a little red pepper, ground up red hot peppers, that'll help. I'm not entirely sure about that. It may work for a little while, but I think the rodents get used to that just like it took me a few years to get used to it. But anyway, it is a good question, and they do address things like that on Creature Comfort. We appreciate the call.
Yeah, Thursday mornings at 9, replay at 6 on Saturday mornings. But now let's keep going, and let's see what Jim and Jackson wants to bring to the show this morning.
Good morning, Jim. Howdy.
Jim Rosenblatt here, Felder. Good morning to you. Yeah. Felder, I've been in a lot of hotel lobbies and indoor office buildings, and the plant that I see most commonly is the snake plant, also called mother-in-law's tongue. And I wonder, does a plant like that need any dark time at all? Because it's just purely indoors with only artificial light, and sometimes light 24 hours a day. Does it need any dark time?
That's a good question. And all plants need, just like we need a sleep. When we go to sleep, our brains and our bodies sort of repair themselves. Plants need that also. It's called respiration. Trying to keep plants going 24/7 is the same thing as it's sleep deprivation to us. So they all need that. But there's two reasons why the mother-in-law, what people call snake plant or mother-in-law tongue, which by the way has been called sansevieria for hundreds of years. They just changed it to a type of Dracaena. I grow 14 different kinds of that plant. And the reason I like them, Jim, is they have thick leaves. They're jungle floor plants. They'll tolerate really low light, but also they have thick leaves so they can tolerate low humidity. Reason ferns don't do well indoors is because they like a lot of humidity. Well, these plants have slick leaves like the mother-in-law tongue or rubber trees, Chinese evergreen. They've got slick leaf and they don't need as much humidity. So they're mostly grown because they tolerate low light and low humidity, and a lot of different kinds. Matter of fact, I've got a whole little publication that I put together that I email people for free about the best low light, indoor, low humidity plants. And that's one of the top. There's a whole bunch of different kinds of that, by the way. That's a good question, though.
It seems they don't require much care, and they thrive under pretty austere conditions. But it's the most common plant I've seen indoors in hotel lobbies and office buildings.
Yeah, I have a book that talked about early plant exploration. The plant was actually discovered in Africa. It is an African native. It's a desert. You know, deserts aren't always just sand. Sometimes just low rainfall. But it's a desert jungle type understory plant. I have pictures of me in Africa around those things. They have flowers that are chest high. But anyway, it's just a low light, low humidity plant. And over the years, we found out that it'll grow in an ashtray on a television, and so it ends up being in airport lobbies too.
And somebody that takes care of them says the worst mistake you can make is to overwater them.
It's a succulent. It's a type of cat. It's not a cactus, but it's a succulent. And mine, I grow mine in pots. I've got one that was given to me, Jim, by a Hispanic woman who worked at a garden center where I worked in Corpus Christi, Texas. Over 50 years ago, I've had this plant, and it gets watered maybe 5 or 6 times a year, maybe, because it's a jungle desert plant. So it thrives on not much water.
I know when irises get old, they grow beards. Have you ever heard of a bearded iris?
You know, that's a different style of iris. Even the young bearded iris has got beards. That's the one that's got that little furry thing on the top of it.
Just
joking, but anyway, Felder. That's a good question about the Sansevieria.
Thank you, Felder.
All righty. And Java, I didn't want to get too technical, but horticulturists like me, we really get irritated when people change the rules. In Sansevieria, which has been grown for hundreds of years now, so fantastic. I've got 14 or maybe 15 different kinds, and they changed the name to Dracaena, and it really honks me off because I finally learned how to spell Sansevieria. But anyway.
Now, Felder, now go ahead, Felder.
Speaking of succulents, last week I talked about this hypertufa thing that I made, and because we couldn't show pictures, I'm wondering if John C. could put up that picture. I've got picture number 3 of my hypertufa pot.
Is this your hypertufa?
Yeah, I made that. It looks like it's made out of stone, but it's just a type of concrete with peat moss and perlite mixed together, and I pressed it around a box and let it dry, so when I turned it over, it looks like a container. And picture number 4 shows me planting it. I planted these succulents in it, and it looks like an old stone trough, a real stone trough. It's made out of concrete, peat moss, and perlite, so it's light enough to be picked up, but it'll stay outside. And I don't know if you noticed, I even have some little miniature blue bottles in my hypertufa succulent pot.
Oh, I was going to compliment you on your accessorizing now.
You know, and then and before we go to another call, if we could show picture number 4. Picture number 4 is just an example. I got these last week. I went to a meeting at I'm a member of the British Cactus and Succulent Society. We went to a meeting, and this fella had a whole bunch I got. All these plants right here, people have seen them all their lives. They're succulents. They don't need water. Hen and chicks, people know about that. Sedums, they know about that. Well, these are different kind of plants that whether in Mississippi or England, you can put them outside and leave them there. They'll grow in an urn in a cemetery. They're really interesting, and they need very little care. Matter of fact, too much rain is a problem, so I have to add extra perlite to my potting soil for extra drainage. Well, these are the kind of plants that we're going towards because they're interesting, they're pretty, they're easy to share, but most important, they'll take our weather, and that's important too. So you say we got a caller. We need to go to the tune or what?
Yeah, let's go to the tune. We're a little bit off time, but we got a full bank of calls. I'm gonna go ahead and click on the theme. But we got Shelby in Gulfport, Ron in Canton, Stephen in Boonville. Hold on. We need to take a little break. Felder has to refresh his coffee.
And folks who are tuning in later can't hear the live stream tune. This is Ethel Merman from Broadway musical called Gypsy. It's called Everything's Coming Up Roses. I know your roses look bad right now, but you prune them, give them a little fertilizer, and they're going to do great. So everything should be coming up, could be coming up roses. Stick with us, folks. Me and Java, we'll be back with more of the Gestalt Gardener here on Mississippi Public Broadcasting right after this.
At the Mississippi Arts and Entertainment Experience in Meridian, we believe in the power of the arts, storytelling, and education, just like Mississippi Public Broadcasting. MPB connects communities across the state with quality programs that inform, inspire, and engage. Their audience is loyal and appreciative of businesses that support public broadcasting, which makes underwriting on MPB a smart investment. Join us in supporting MPB. Learn more at mpbfoundation.org.
When the weather turns severe, when breaking news affects your family, when Mississippi needs answers, MPB is there. We provide real-time emergency alerts, trusted news coverage, and live broadcasts of emergency updates. Available on TV, radio, and online. MPB is on the air and by your side every day of the year. Because when it matters most, Mississippi turns to MPB, Mississippi's trusted source. MPB, your stories, our mission.
Hi, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Bobby Rush. As a blues man, I love Mississippi Public Broadcasting. If you support Mississippi music and their local programming, donate now, right now, and become a member today, not tomorrow. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Doesn't matter how big or small, but we prefer big. Thank you very much.
The Measuring Show.
Since 1970, MPB has been enriching the lives of Mississippians.
Everything we do gives us the chance to grow and learn.
With your support, we are always there whenever and wherever you need us. Together through the years, together in the future. Please consider making a donation at mpbfoundation.org. MPB, your stories, our mission.
Welcome back, horticulturalist Felder Rushing. We got some calls, but I want to show you this job. I got me some of these little succulents that I made, and I got them in a broken MPB cup. I broke one of my cups, but I brought it over here, and I got all sorts. I even got a little gnome in it. Like
I see. Yeah, I see the little man in there.
And one other thing, you mentioned creature comforts. You know, horticulture gardening has got so much in common with other programs MPB has. Creature comforts, Deep South Dining, Fix It 101. All of these things tie together. And I think it's just one of those things I want to point out. MPB has local produced programs all week long that have cross subject interests. Just want to throw that out. Meanwhile, let's go up to Canton and talk with Ron, who's been hanging on for a long time. Hey, Ron, good morning.
Good morning, Felder. How are you?
So far, so good. Not so bad.
Good, good. I just found it interesting. I put birdseed out, and it's a mix, and it's got corn, but it's not whole kernel corn. It's like the corn kernels have been chopped up or something.
Yeah,
and now
right.
I have corn stalks about over a foot tall, about a dozen of them. And I was just curious. I had no idea that a stalk of corn could grow from a corn kernel that's been chopped up like that.
Yeah, there must have been some pretty big chunks in there because, the whole thing is a seed. And it may be that enough of the kernel that's in the seed, what we call a kernel of corn has got a seed in it. Might be just enough of it survived in kind of rain we've had. There were just enough good pieces left in there. And a lot of people get sunflowers that come up around their bird feeders. But yeah, a little bit. So you're gonna give them a little fertilizer and let it grow?
Yeah, I'm gonna let them grow. I didn't understand it. I'm glad you explained it to me. Thank you.
Okay, man. But I will say this: if you let it grow up, you may be attracting raccoons to your yard. I'm just saying.
Appreciate that, Ron, from Ken. It is funny, and I know about the sunflowers popping up because they just fall out of the bird feeders and they sprout up. Yes. But let's stay on the phones. We have Stephen in Boonville on the line now.
Okay, Stephen, what's going on up north?
Yeah, I just wanted to, pardon the expression, brag a little bit about something I discovered with my tomato garden this year for the very first time. I just put them in raised beds, and it's about 14 plants. And for years, I have been hearing the tidbit to try to keep the green hornworms out of your tomatoes and away from them. Yeah. I had tried Seven Dust, I tried other chemicals, and none of them worked 100%. But for the first time, I followed the advice and planted a thick row of marigolds in front of my tomatoes, and not one single worm has showed up the whole season. Not one.
That's real interesting, because there's a lot of anecdotal evidence about that. Scientists, and I'm real sure about this, we're pretty sure that that's anecdotal, that marigolds actually have got like 12.5 different insects that feed on them. So I'm not sure that they had a direct effect, but for some reason it worked for you, and it doesn't hurt to plant marigolds. But
well, it's worked beautifully.
Good. Well, I'm glad to hear about that. There may be something else going on, but I'm not discounting the fact that it worked for you.
Well, it made me wonder if maybe they're putting some kind of natural chemical into the ground that repels the worms. I don't know.
Well, this has been researched over and over and over. We know for a fact that they do not. Again, there's 15 or so different kinds of insects that feed on marigolds. They do put out a type of material from their roots that will repel this tiny little microscopic rootworm called nematode. They do repel nematodes if you chop them up and work them into your dirt as a cover crop. But as far as just absolutely, and they smell like dirty socks if you rub the leaves. But we've never found anything that shows that they actually do repel insects. But at the same time, there's a lot of anecdotal information, and it doesn't hurt.
Well, I've had a happy season so far with it, and I'm grateful for what I've discovered. I've used, to get specific, I used a little Sophia.
Yeah, there's so many different kinds of marigolds. The big ones, the small ones, they're really, really cool plants, and they actually attract some pollinators. But anyway, so many people say that I'm not gonna say no, don't do it. It doesn't work. But I'm gonna say there's no evidence that it works. But you go.
Thank you.
All right, appreciate your call, man.
Stephen in Boonville, myth busting right here on Gestalt Gardener.
I hate to be this way, because it makes me sound like I'm such an arrogant jerk, and I'm really not. I wish that there was something that showed that they work, because it make my life so much easier. But I have to be honest about it in case other people get the wrong idea and he say, "Well, Felder said it worked." No, Felder doesn't. Anyway, who else? Who we got?
Yeah, let's go back to the Gulf Coast and talk with Shelby. Shelby in Gulfport.
Hey, Shelby, you still getting some rain?
Yes, light rain today so far.
Good. Yeah.
I have what I think is torpedo grass in my flower bed, and it's in close proximity to a sunshine ligustrum that's doing really well. Right. I've tried pulling it up. I've tried couple of different weed and grass killers, but it seems like the blades have like a waxy coating on them, so it's like not penetrating.
They do. There's a lot of weeds that resist herbicides that normally would kill similar plants, but because they have a different kind of a waxy, and I can name a whole bunch of them. But the other thing is the herbicides work best on young plants when they're on the new growth. Once the leaves get out there and kind of mature, it doesn't work as well. And also if they're flowering or if they're hot and dry, herbicides work best on plants that are young and really actively growing. So what I would suggest, and there are some herbicides that only kill grasses, will not hurt your ligustrum or your iris or your marigolds. They only kill true grasses, but they work best on young, actively growing plants. So what you might want to do is pull up as much as you can, as best you can, water it really good, and when the new growth comes out, while it's still small and new, spray that, and it'll work a whole lot better.
Okay, I've got a good bit of mulch in the bed, so I guess it's getting a little more mature by the time it actually gets to the top of the mulch.
Well, as soon as if you just pull up as best you can, just if you have to have a hissy fit out there and just pull it up, it's almost a therapeutic thing if it wasn't so hot. But now that it's been raining, the stuff should come up fairly easy if you pull it up and sort of tease it out of the ground because the ground is moist. But as soon as the new growth comes up, just mist it with some of this grass killer. And there's several brands, so I won't get to recommend it, but garden centers know grass killers. And but again, the new growth.
Okay, thank you very much.
Good luck. This is not a fun one.
I know it's not. Thank you.
You bet. See ya.
Bye-bye.
What's up, Java?
Before we go to our next call, we did have, let's see, Kim from Starkville. You know how one thing just spurs off into another, helping. I think it was Gloria with her bird feeder. She said she had an answer, and maybe safflower seeds.
Safflower?
Yes, safflower. That's it, safflower. She said squirrels won't eat them, but the birds love them. So if you put that in your bird feeder, that may get away from those rodents.
Yeah, it's a little more expensive, but that's worth trying. And I know we're going back to some calls, but talking about how one thing leads to another. Next week we're going to talk about this thing. But I had this thing called pub talk, where it's just guys get people. What do you guys talk about it at pubs? We're doing a little chin wagging. We're just shooting the breeze, just talking about stupid stuff. And they were talking about somebody who comes out there and they seem like a really fun person, but they're just not friendly at all. They come out, they like to be with people, but they're just not friendly, and they're bright, but they just sort of standoffish. And come to find out, that's a personality type. There's extroverts and there's introverts, where there are a lot of people called otroverts, O-T-R-O-verts. They like to be around folks, but they just don't belong. They're outsiders, but they like to be around people. And that's sort of like I am. I like being around people, but I don't really want to join their group. But otroverts, we'll talk about that next week, how it relates to gardening.
Okay, because I think I fall in that category. I can be around the people, but I can also be in the corner really quiet, and I'm okay, and everything's all right.
Yeah. Look it up sometime. O-T-R-O, otrovert.
All right, let's go back to the phones and let's talk with Mikey from Mobile.
Hey, Mikey, good morning.
Another otrovert, may I say. I just wanted to say, Gene, who had called in earlier from Mobile and was asking about caladiums.
Right.
I have found a plant. Well, I don't know the name of it, but I know it when I see it. It's something that is offered as a house plant that looks like a caladium. My sister, who had a lot more knowledge about Hawaiian culture than I did, mistook us for caladiums when she saw it in my yard. And I had to inform her that I got it from the either buy this plant or we're going to kill, it's going to die, rack. And so it's a vining plant. It looks like I don't know, what are they, the ones that are shovel-shaped, pointed shovel-shaped. What do they call that among the house plants? And usually you see it in green, you see it in a lot of variegations, but this has the pink that makes it look like caladium.
Yeah, there's several plants that do that. There's a whole bunch of tropical plants with arrowhead-shaped leaves that have sometimes really just green or sometimes colorful thing. I'm not sure what that one is, whether it's a syngonium or something like that. Anyway, there's quite a few of those, and a lot of cultivars have come out with some splashy colors and variegations, even spots and things. So without seeing it, I'm not sure exactly, but there's a whole bunch of them. You get down into Florida, you get into the tropics, to Hawaii, like you meant, Southern California, these grow outside, see a whole lot of those kind of things. But without seeing it, I couldn't say whether. I want to say it might be what they call a syngonium, sort of S-Y-N gonium. Might be. I don't know.
How do you spell symbonium?
S-Y-N-Gonium. S-Y-N gonium. And that's just one of them that I think of. There's a whole bunch that are similar to that you can grow on the Gulf Coast. It won't grow further north.
Well, I've had great success with it without trying because I'm like you. I'm the kind of gardener you are, okay?
Yeah.
God does help us. All right. Thank you, and bye.
Oh, I appreciate it. See if you can send us a picture. We'll take it from there. So, Java, what's up, man?
Oh, man, Mikey was actually our last call, but I was going to ask you about caladium. What you got to correct me? Caladiums.
Yeah. Caladium. You can get them in garden centers. They look like they're not bulbs. They're little sort of a knobby looking little thing you put in the ground and send up leaves that get up to maybe knee high, and they're arrowhead shaped. And they're green. Sometimes they got splashes of white on them, or sometimes pink. But caladiums is a real popular shade plant, but it only grows over the spring, summer, and fall. And if you don't water it, it stops growing. So it's a real popular plant where where you can just put them out, and as long as you water them and fertilize them, they'll do fine.
And normally they're in the pots, right?
Yeah, they're actually grown as indoor potted plants up north. But caladiums, they're just a plant that it's a colorful little foliage plant.
Okay. That's what I had to wrap my head around it. I've seen this plant forever. I just never knew that they were called caladiums.
Caladium. Hey, I want to tell you. Let's show one more last picture before we wrap the program. It's picture number 7. It's called Dodder. Dodder. Now, somebody asked about this. What do I think about Dodder? This is a weird plant, and it grows all over the South. It's all over Mississippi. It drapes itself on other plants. It looks like somebody threw a bunch of yellow spaghetti all over plants. Can you see that?
That's what I was going to ask. When you sent this picture, it was like the last picture you sent. Is this a plant or a weed or?
It's a little both. It's a plant. And it looks like vermicelli, yellow vermicelli. It grows all over plants. Get this. It's a parasite. It comes up from seed, tiny little seeds that flowers make, and they grow up. And when they grow on plant, they actually stick roots into the plant like mistletoe, and they grow on other plants. It's a true parasite. It doesn't have its own roots. But a dodder is one of those things that's kind of invasive, bothers a lot of people. I think it's kind of cool. If it gets really bad, you just pull it up, throw some of it away. But it's just one of those weird plants out there. They call it love vine because if you throw it over your shoulder, if it takes root on a plant, that means somebody loves you. And I'm thinking, still everybody loves you because it'll take over some shrubs and stuff.
Oh,
anyway,
Lord.
It's a weird vine called Dodder, Dodder. Ain't it a weird world, Java?
The super weird world, and now we've come to the end of another show, man.
I don't know. This is such a crazy thing we do every Friday, but I'm so glad that people are joining us and talking about gardening. And if you have questions during the week, you can shoot us an email. But let's go out and get dirty, folks. Let's see y'all next week.